Hey guys, it's Meredith from Backyard Caring, and if you're here watching me, then you know that right now it's 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. Sometimes that time changes throughout the season, but it is our gardening live stream that happens every Wednesday with me and guests, and we talk about gardening things that are going on, growing vegetables, herbs, edible plants, how to cook, do recipes of those vegetables and fruits and herbs and things like that, and all things homesteading and gardening. So welcome. Tonight, wasn't sure if the weather was going to be good, and it's been a busy week for me, so I was hoping to just do a bit of a garden tour, answer some questions as we go along, talk about some of the things we have coming up, and to show you some things in my garden. Next week on the 14th, we have a workshop, virtual workshop, where you actually get a rain barrel to assemble if you live local to us. If not, contact us and you can join in and just learn about rain barrels and how to make your own. That kit is $75 for next Wednesday, and that includes the rain barrel that you see here and all the parts that it requires to put it together. It's a nice big blue rain barrel that has it's a plastic surface that can be painted. I've seen them painted online. I've always wanted to do that to mine, so that's something I might get to this summer if we get a bit of a drought and I empty it out. But right now I actually have fish in there. I'm just going to turn this around and show you what it comes with. So you'll get this big rain barrel, as well as this is kind of like the overflow pipe that you can cut to custom size. I have mine kind of draining out into this bed area, which has nothing in it right now, but it comes with that black piping. It also comes with a lid that looks like that has a little screen on top that will stop things like you can see some of this debris from actually getting inside the rain barrel. It can be painted too. It also comes with this like metal clamp to keep that on. Some people who have a lot of raccoon activity may want to put the lid on. If you have some kind of mesh to prevent roof debris, etc., from not coming in elsewhere, then you can leave the top open. I have one of these basic green offshoot type things attached to my gutter so that the rain comes in this way, and I can of course redirect it, but it never overflows because the overflow is right there, and it's nice and gentle and at a nice height. You can dunk your watering can right in the top, but you can also, this will be included, is a spigot. I've attached kind of this little green hose part to help me fill up my rain barrel, or rain barrels. I always confuse the name of them both, but my watering cans. And I like to use this up as often as possible just so the water doesn't get too stagnant. But we've actually had a lot of rain, which is kind of unusual for June, early July, and it looks like we're going to get a lot more. What's kind of cool that I've gotten here is some water hyacinth and some just little baby goldfish that me and my housemate have in here and look after. I'll give them a little bit of food so you can see them more at the surface. They think that they're getting fed right now. Just 4 of them in there, which is plenty at that size, to keep the water nice and healthy. And of course, their fish poop and detritus. They'll eat any kind of insect larvae that might get in here. This mesh is obviously bigger, so it's not going to prevent mosquitoes, but if you have fish in there, or if you're using your water often enough, you won't get any of those. So let's give them a little bit of food. Well, those are like the size they can't eat, of course. I've got 2 different sizes in here, and they don't like the pellet size, but they're goldfish, so they're always quite hungry, and they will at least give it a try. I definitely recommend getting like a little solar pump to kind of agitate the water as well if you're going to have fish, or to replenish the water often so that you're keeping it nice and oxygenated and clean. But yeah, just a creative way to have both a water feature and, oh, see, the pellets are too big. Well, they'll soften up and they'll eat them as they sink down. But yeah, they handle any kind of bugs that fall in here, and even little plant debris they'll eat and chew on. They like things like lettuce and cucumber as well. So yeah, if you are interested in our rain barrel workshop, we are holding that on next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And I think our tickets actually, we're going to stop selling them on the 12th. So if you want one of these rain barrel kits before then, let us know. $75 for this huge rain barrel and everything it comes with. And that is a steal because fancy rain barrels, like this one, it isn't even hooked up. It's actually upside down because it needs a repair. can cost upwards of $200. So there you go. But yeah, as far as garden tour goes, I've got a couple interesting things. The chickens are interested in what I'm doing because they know I fed the fish. Red there is right at the fence, wondering where is her snack. But of course, there's always weeding to be done, so there's snacks aplenty. It's really, really easy to weed after a storm like this. I feel like everything comes out by the roots super easily. So it's a good time. Might be what I end up doing tomorrow during the rain. They love when I toss stuff in there, but they've been pretty spoiled, so they might not even be that hungry. That is Patrice, big girl Patrice. She's a really lovely chicken. She's very loud, she's very opinionated, and she lays a giant egg. Don't you? Yes. And this is old Red. She is about 8 years old. And then that's Lady Sussex right there. She's kind of the leader of the group right now. Self-appointed, of course. So yeah, wandering around the garden, things are looking pretty lush. I've got a project going on where I want to put up some more hanging pots on this fence. It's south-facing, nearly south-facing. And I've basically run out of room at this point, so I need to make some more space. I'm a hosta lover because this garden is mostly part shade. My big green grass circle is looking very well fed and groomed. Not well groomed because we've had so much rain, it's going wild. And I've got some pruned rose bushes that have some of their secondary blooms, and then we've got some more coming on. I need to trim this up. If you're interested in rose care, let me know. I've got quite a few, and we absolutely love them at this house. And they look great against this old brick garage in the ward of Guelph. This is a really neat hosta called Agboba drinking gourd, and the leaves are kind of filled up like this, and maybe in the fall I'll use one to kind of make like a concrete pot or something, but they actually are meant to be like this and kind of hold water, that kind of look. That one's a perfect example of this really unusual hosta. So it's kind of neat. I've got a golden raspberry in a pot. I didn't really know where to put it. Of course, if you have raspberries, they spread everywhere. Golden raspberries are no exception. They are a little bit more lime green compared to others, and I'll show you. Actually, I don't think I can reach it right now, but red ones actually have that reddish tinge on them. And I have some first fruit. What's amazing about the golden raspberries is they will keep going. They are thorny. Oh, someone's taken my fruit that was ready. Oh well, but I've got some more coming on. Golden raspberries kind of start producing fruit around now, and will keep going all the way into frost, which is awesome. This is like a holding area for some stuff for some clients. Plants are starting to go on sale. We've got some thunder, so maybe we do have a bit of a time limit tonight. Where did I get that hosta? I got it years ago. There's a couple different nurseries that I absolutely love. Shout out to Lost Horizons in Acton, one of my most favorite garden centers. Everything is at least 20% off there now. Free shout out to them, but they're a completely independent, family-run nursery, and they stock a lot of interesting stuff. It's just, as you go in and you find something, you pick it up. But this is like a giant ball marigold that I got for a client's vegetable garden. And this is a lime green petunia, which is quite unusual. Maybe not everyone's favorite, but I think it's really, really cool. I picked up something really neat on Facebook Marketplace for the community garden, which I will be doing a tour of later. But someone was giving away these really awesome, awesome to some. I think they're pretty cool. These are like a tire planter. You can kind of see the old tire in there that's been flipped out. He said he cut it with a jigsaw. He sprayed them a couple years ago, so the paint holds up really well, and they hold a lot of soil. So there's some really cool planters I'm going to bring to the community garden. And he's even sprayed the bottom green. They look like these little tulip flower heads. Pretty unique, so that's kind of cool. Not much else is going on out here. This is like my driveway area. This coleus is looking crazy. Coleus are an annual shade plant that, would grow in the same environment as hosta. They're a great, super colorful annual. And what's great about them is they do flower eventually, but because they don't have flowers, you're kind of getting that color all season long. And then that's coxcomb or colosia. nice bright and red in this random container that I have there, but that really pops, which I love. My red raspberry's over there. I can't really reach it because it's between my car and this, but I've got some planters out by the street there that were normally filled with stuff, but they didn't do great last year, so I might end up putting just some lettuce next year. But yeah, some more. This is kind of my like tropical corner of the yard where I stick some house plants. There's some more coleus in a pot hanging up. Spider plant, orchids. My bathtub, which has nothing in it right now, but maybe I'll end up putting something in it this year. I don't know. Really heavy. What happened was the chickens dug out underneath and it's kind of on a slant now and it needs to be lifted up. This is a really big hosta for scale. Here is my hand. It's I'm not sure if it's humpback whale or big daddy, but that is a giant hosta. This is dancing queen. It's a nice lime green hosta kind of comparison. And then this big guy is an alocasia, elephant ear type plant that I bring inside during the winter, and it lives out here in the summer, and it gets absolutely gigantic, and I love it. And it makes this bench just a nice little private area to sit. And then in my tree, this is where I've stuffed all of my orchids, and they are like super happy in here. This is kind of normally how they grow in certain areas of the world, up on trees, usually with some help, but that's how people like to grow them. They collect water as it travels down the tree. I've kind of anchored it with some old cocoa fiber stuff from plant hangers, and I do water it from time to time, but I'm hoping just to get a bunch of leaves off them while they're out here and before winter, and I transition them back inside. This one has done something kind of weird where I've got like these pups on the orchids, which is kind of neat to see. And they are just like super happy outside, kind of in the part shade. This was a free spider plant that I'm rehabbing, and it's looking actually really quite good. And we've got some blooms and babies. And then fiddle leaf fig back here, not growing super great. Maybe it's a little bit too shady, but I've got a big new leaf on it, so not too shabby. Doesn't mind being outside in the shade either. Again, there's that really beautiful coleus. They come in a million colors. There's actually 2 colors on here. There's this red and then a darker red. Highly recommended. What else? I don't want to spend too much time on the tour because I do want to show off my Jean planters. I've got some various things in pots up by my canoe that can be moved when I need to move the canoe out. Some more hostas. A palm that I stick outside, loving it. I love mixing those guys. It's not a native plant garden, but I do like the tropical look. Everybody else is a hosta. This is a really unique new one that I got this year called Revolution, and it doesn't have a disease or anything or like insect damage. That's actually just the speckly nature of this variety next to a more regular variety. And this is Golden Tiara, which is like a smaller type. So lots of different hostas. I think I have about 75 different hostas. I picked up some water lettuce, which is not edible, to put in my rain barrel, and it took over. It started with just this main one, and now it has 20 kids and counting, which is crazy. Welcome everybody who's just joined on a bit of my garden tour. I'm not going to look that way because that's my experimenting zone. Everybody who gardens a lot has that zone where plants go to sit and wait and whatnot. But this was a planter I planted up on one of the live streams. It is going wild. This time of year, the pansies are the violas, I should say, starting to look a little leggy just because it's so hot, and they do prefer a little bit cooler temperatures. But if I can keep them alive until fall, they will bounce back. Some potato leaf vine, which I absolutely love. And they do produce kind of like a sweet potato that you can preserve over the winter, like a lot of different plants. And then I've got a really awesome herb planter that has some curled leaf parsley, rosemary, some are savory. We are starting to get a little bit of rain, but whatever. Some thyme and some purple sage. Purple sage isn't hardy, but it is really beautiful as like an annual alternative. Got some tomatoes in a pot with some pesto, basil. This plant's really interesting. You cannot buy it in seed. So I'm hoping to do a lot of cuttings of this guy. And then I've got a lot of vertical stuff going on. All of my fancy peppers, hot peppers mostly. This is a pepper that I got from Brazil, the seeds from Brazil, and I am hoping that it'll get a little bit bigger, but I may have to finish them off inside. I am a fan of just interesting foliage, and if it's edible and does both, look beautiful and is edible, it's a win for me, because I'd rather have a garden full of that. So yeah, I've got some interesting ones. They're just now kind of flowering after being topped, so they're nice and bushy and quite interesting. This is the same as that other frilly one, except it's variegated, so we've got some white coming in. That is a pepper plant. I know, it's crazy. Oh, you've even got a pepper on that one coming along, bright purple. And then these guys are doing crazy. This is a Carolina Reaper pepper, and it is looking huge. And I'm excited. Yet there's some flowers coming in. Yeah, I don't know. That's a banana, which I love too. You can cut it back and keep it in your basement in a cold room in the winter, and it'll come back, and it's just a really unique annual type thing. This is just a fun planter, nothing crazy in there. Let's see. This, we're just going to ignore that it's starting to pour rain a little bit. Hopefully it'll give me about 10 more minutes. This is a tomato, a semi-dwarf called Fuzzy Wuzzy. And it's called Fuzzy Wuzzy because it is quite fuzzy. All tomatoes have this kind of hair to them, but this one has a little bit more, and it's got almost that like silver look, and it produces fruit that are about this big, larger than a double grape sized fruit that are also kind of fuzzy. It's just unique for a planter. So I've got it mixed in here with some double petunias and then a purple pepper kind of hidden in there. And I've got some herbs kind of splattered around. This is a castor bean, which I started from seed, and it's getting really big and cool. I've got a tomato tucked in here, which I don't know why it looks kind of sad, but I think maybe something fell on it, like a squirrel, which happens in my garden. More hostas, of course. And keeping my dumb cane outside for the summer. I have these here because the squirrels were trying to use it to climb up, and then they realized it was not really like a tree at all. This planter we also started up on live stream, and it's going crazy. I may have to replant it because the pilea that I have in here is getting kind of hidden away. Things are getting wild. But yeah, let's go to the front as it starts to pour, semi-pour, because I really want to show you these planters that we started on live stream. Of course, we've got tiger lilies just going wild. If you have any of those, these hosta flowers are super tall. Surprise, more hosta. I've got quite a few up here as well, and everything is just looking lush, 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 and full. This is ornamental sea oats type of grass. Kind of looks like bamboo, which is kind of neat. It will spread, so you have to keep an eye on it. Variegated obedient plant. And yes, it is in fact very obedient. It doesn't like to move around too much. I think this hosta is Sum and Substance. I might be wrong, but it is also huge and bright lime green, which is super fun. This is variegated phlox, which I'd expect to be blooming in the next couple of weeks. Pretty stunning, pretty tall. This garden is like half shade, half whatever, so it looks a little funky, but these are my raised beds right now. My garlic is maybe a few days away from being harvested. I'm super excited to see how big it actually ends up being. The kale that was started out here is absolutely giant. We are constantly harvesting from this kale to make things, put them in the smoothies, and we just cannot even keep up. I have these dwarf tomatoes down in there, like they're supposed to be that small, but they're getting completely shadowed by this crazy kale. So I may have to really take that down. This is a variegated tomato. A couple of people walking by have asked me if it's diseased. and it is not. It's actually doing quite well. It's just variegated, and looks like that instead of a regular tomato. I've got a lot of fun purple kale in here, some more purple peppers, which are getting a little bit shaded by the kale as well, and even this tomato. But they smell really good. They look really good. I started these from seed, so I don't really know what variety this is exactly, but I love this like lime green edge that it seems to have compared to like this opal purple basil, which I also started from seed. So definitely worth starting basil from seed. It will save you a lot of money buying it from the store. But yeah, you can see this actually got broken off. The kale is huge. There's my foot and there's the kale leaf. That is wild. I've got a couple other varieties. How many kale leaves? Well, if it's this big, just one. But I take the stalk right off because that part does not blend up very well and gets pretty fibrous. But I take all that green part off. But if it was a smaller leaf, like this guy, I might put 2 or 3. And I like to put like a handful of spinach as well. I don't know who took the top off my kale. That's too bad. Usually I do not harvest them that way. Someone must have helped themselves or something. Oh well, if you need to eat it, take it, I guess. There's more that really awesome basil. Some regular basil in there. I think it's getting eaten by slugs or something because it's just a little too shaded. But that's also a really funky pepper. Okay, and then last thing before I show you the potato planters. Yes, I mean, it can be kind of powerful tasting, so I like to mix it with banana and like a vanilla, either protein powder, or if you have like a fake milk, like I like cashew milk or almond milk that's like vanilla, will kind of mask the kale, but I do really like a green smoothie. If you want my green smoothie recipe, it's something I might post. This is a tomato called Boathouse, and it is what's called a potato leaf tomato. So regular tomatoes have leaves that are formed like this. We all kind of recognize that almost carrot-like shape. But potato leaf tomatoes have these really big, rugose, giant even, bizarre-looking leaves. And I'm really excited for this tomato plant because they're quite unique. And we will see that in the live stream coming along. But these are the potato gene planters that I've been hyping up and that we made on the live stream a couple of weeks ago now. I've filled them with a bit more soil since. And they look pretty awesome. These are some old Guess jeans that a lot of these, like the crotch rubs for me, I don't know about you guys, but the thigh rub is real, and I don't really like the look of them mended. Unless they're black, you can kind of hide it, but with lighter colored jeans, you almost cannot hide that mending job. So they're not really repurposable. I have used jean material and cut it up and made different things out of it, but this works pretty well as a kind of replacement. You know, you can get those like black pot planters that are like fabric, almost like a thick weed fabric, but it works fine as a potato planter. So we're gonna see. I planted some interesting varieties in here, including some purple. You can almost tell because there's like a purple glow to these leaves. Pink and fingerling potatoes. This one in particular has a really interesting shape going on and some algae in the butt, but yeah, they work pretty well, and they've got a little bit more room to add some soil, which they will appreciate. They stay pretty wet, and they don't actually look like too bad for being outside for a couple weeks. So if you've got some cotton jeans, probably preferred. I don't know what would happen to like a more stretchy, like plastic based jean, but if you have some rugose, you know, cotton jeans that you want to turn into a planter of some kind, I've got a couple more I might make into just herbs. It's a little late for potatoes now, but just to stick some other stuff in, they really do work, and I will be harvesting them later. So definitely check those out and make your own and tell me how that goes. There's a ripened tomato on one of my mini tomatoes. They're getting a little bit of something eating the leaves, but I've got a little tomato from my micro tom tomatoes. Looks pretty good. First tomato for me really here, at least in this garden. eggplant, and some different things that aren't doing super great, but they were put in kind of late. So yeah, that is the garden tour. I've got some kale. I'm going to give this one to the chickens. I've got a bunch of kale to eat in the fridge. That's only a couple of plants, and that is plenty for even a family, I would say. These flowers always stop me from closing the door. The gate there. Well, let's see what the chickens think of this. You guys, do you want this kale? Oh yeah. They love treats from the garden. And that's the thing, I never feel bad. Nothing ever goes to waste here when you got chickens and a rabbit and hungry people to feed with these veg. She's really loving it. Oh, that's a big piece. Take a smaller one off next time. She's still gonna try. She's like, I'm just still hungry. Some of them are a little shy. They won't pick from me, but that'll be obliterated in no time. Anyways, folks, that concludes the live stream for this Wednesday. I think next week I'll be doing a tour of the Grow Community Garden, which is a big garden that I manage north of the city. And we have about 15 different plots there. It's like an acre big. It's huge. It's awesome. It's like I have dirt all over my face. But that's just a day in the garden. So yeah, thanks for joining me on my little tour. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them next time.